Hey guys, I am back. We're doing something a little bit different today, as we kind of recently talked about, trying to switch things up, do some different kind of content. And so today, we're going to be talking about what was, so some people would consider the EDC knife for a long time. It was ubiquitous. It was Benchmade's most popular knife for years and years and years. Just spitballing here. Is it still relevant with everything else that's out in the world? Is it still a popular knife? Is it still as EDC worthy as it once was? And we're going to be talking about the Benchmade Griptilian. We're going to talk a little bit about, just a tiny bit about the history of it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the different models of the Griptilian, and we're going to talk about, you know, with all the options on the market today, is the Benchmade Griptilian still a classic and an ideal knife to put in your pocket? I love the Griptilian, and we'll talk about why. But I have a lot of knives in my collection, and I just have a few out here. I have some that are very high end. I mean, I have knives that range in the $1,000 plus that stay in the collection shelves and you never see. In the high $100 areas. I mean, I carry, you know, everything from a Sabenza to a custom Strider to you know, Hinderer, to lower but still high-end stuff, ZT, lower down Spyderco. This is a Medford, but it's not like one of the really expensive Medfords, okay? And then I have very budget-friendly knives, which I don't have in front of me. I don't have a problem carrying a $20 knife if it's a good knife and it's made well. But one of the things that, even with these fancy, expensive things, that keeps finding its way into my pocket is the Griptilian. Why? What's special about it? On the outside, if you just look at it and you compare what it is to what's available on the market today in the same price range, nothing is special about it. You can get very much the same thing, same materials, but there's just something about it that keeps me coming back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to splice in a clip here, because a little while back I showed my whole Benchmade collection, and I just want to show you all the different Griptilians that I have in the collection. And if you want to fast forward through this part, feel free, you know, go ahead, I won't be offended. But let me just show you the different models that I have. All right, so now we can get into the Griptilian section, of which there are many. You know, the Griptilian will always hold a special place in my heart. The first real, quote-unquote, real knife I bought for myself was a Griptilian. And I've always loved the Griptilian. So starting along with the 550. So I've always loved that the original Griptilian blade had this oval-shaped hole in it. I think that's really cool. And the original Griptilian blades were made out of 440C. And I have tracked down, I worked hard to track down some 440C blades. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it with the glare. But this is a 440C 550. I like the oval hole because it looks much more reptile-like than the round hole. So I've got one of those. This is an original 440C with the black finish on it, which I just have because I can. Do you know what the only way to get actual red scales on a Griptilian is? It's to buy the trainer. So I bought the trainer and then swapped the scales for an actual old school oval holed 440C blade Griptilian. And I still have the trainer blade somewhere. You can get close to red on the custom, you know, build your own Griptilian, but not quite red. Then they switched to 154 cm steel, but they still have the oval hole. Now, this is one where Benchmade just did limited edition. So they were selling basically at first just black scales. And then they had OD green scales. Then they did a limited edition run with these gray scales, but they didn't number them. So it's just limited edition. You have no idea how many of these were made. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But this is the limited edition 550 oval hole 154 cm Griptilian. This one, somebody, I forgot how this ended up to me. They tried to do something with this. They did horrible things to this 550. and I ended up, they tried to like carve a shape into there, so I ended up turning it more into a drop point shape. I just fixed it up. Still have the oval hole. I did this touch-up work with Duracoat back before I knew that Cerakote even existed. It's not bad. It's not great. It's not bad. It's a little unique, but there it is. This was a going away gift from my last Air Force Combat Deployable Squadron. Not bad. I like it. S30V blade. You know, and because you can get whatever you want out of the Benchmade custom, you know, Griptilian thing. This is back when they only did Griptilians. Then they added barrages. Now it's the mini Crooked Rivers, and they might have something else on it. But a bunch of us got these. And that was really cool. This is the what is this? The 551-1 or something like that. I can't remember. But this is the CPM 20CV blade with G10 scales. So for a long time, you could, you know, you had to get aftermarket or custom-made scales on a Griptilian, and then Benchmade said, people are spending so much money on these G10 scales, why don't we make them some? So then this is technically a full regular production version of the Griptilian with G10 scales, and it comes with a deep carry clip, which is nice. This is another one that I just had this made off of the customizer because I wanted one with blue scales. So there's nothing special about it. It's just a 550 with blue scales on it. There you go. And now we're moving into the 551, which is the drop point blade. S30V, black finish, limited edition, light gray scales. There you go. This one is in the family tree with this guy. It's the 551 blade, limited edition. Limited edition. I got that. And now this, you're probably not going to recognize. So this is the Griptilian H2O. This has the X15 TN steel, which is like super corrosion resistant. Normally this would have orange scales, but my buddy Dave, who you see me do some unboxings with, orange is his color. Like that's his thing. So I did him a solid. I peeled off the orange scales that this normally comes in, and I gave him the scales and put black on here, but normally this would be orange scales. You know, but no big deal. I don't mind. Griptilian lineup 2. So this one, this is from the National NRA matches of what year I cannot remember, but it's a pretty nice little piece. S30VN blade, simple little 551. This was one of the first times that that Benchmade offered, you know, before they had the regular production line G10 handled Griptilians. This was also from the national matches. And does this one have a date on it? This one is 2013. 2013. The Camp Perry national matches. Black and blue G10 with some nice anodized blue accents on it. Limited edition. Now this is what I'm talking about. When it's 1 out of 1,000. This is not number 1 of 1,000, which I accidentally mistook when I did the original unboxing. It's 1 of 1,000 pieces. This one has a great dark stonewash finish. This one is the X15 TN blade. You know, this is awesome. This is a limited edition. This one has the numbers on it again, the actual numbers. I forgot what limited edition this is, but it's got that little Marshall Sheriff Star on the clip. Black and blue G10 again with the blue accents. I can't remember what it's for, but I love this one. Another limited edition one again. This is like a tan and brown and black G10. 750 made, CPM M4 with the red accents on it. And then we have one more. This is OD green and black G10 with the green accents. And there were some more of these made. I just couldn't keep up with them all, but they're really cool. This is a regular old 440C old 551 blade. I just happen to have a Cuscati custom scale set on it. And yes, this does glow in the dark. I don't think you're gonna be able to see it. I'm not going to be able to get it dark enough around here. This is a blue glow-in-the-dark backspacer. This is long before I ever attempted to do my own G10 scales for Griptilians, but that's pretty nice. This set, I bought this on eBay a long time ago. Very smooth, doesn't give you a whole lot of grip, no clip placement or anything, but it's a nice blue glowing acrylic scale set in an regular old traditional 154 cm blade. Moving on to the 555s, I was never a fan of the Tonto blade on the Griptilian, but I don't know, I had this one made on the custom workshop. N680, I don't know, good corrosion resistant blade. I just had it made, there it is. And this one, a squadron knife, last CRC unit in Iraq, Operation New Dawn. It is what it is. Another kind of memorial little thing about our time in Iraq. I'll talk about what a CRC does later on at some other point. But anyway, there we go. Now these are technically Griptilians, technically not. You've seen them both before. So this is the only thing Griptilian about this is the inside, the frame of it, and the axis lock. This is Wilkins grip all the way through. This is a Wilkins grip blade, S30VN blade. It's Wilkins titanium scales, backspacer, clip. Like I said, the only thing that's original Benchmade there is the inset there, the steel frame and the axis lock. I love this knife though. I love it. It's probably the most expensive Griptilian I could ever imagine. This one is a beautiful, beautiful Damascus, handmade Damascus blade by Snake River Knives. Wilkins grip as well. Swimming pool green G10 is what he calls it. Might call it Jade G10, I don't know. Original Benchmade clip, but an original Benchmade hardware inside, but Wilkins backspacer and screw set and everything. And I love this one too. I love the blade. The blade is gorgeous. And I have a 551 blade as well. I just don't have anything to mount it in right now. Take a look at that piece right there. How beautiful is that? Like I said, I just don't have anything to put this into. I mean, I do. I'm just not willing to take apart one that I have now. I don't have all of those here with me now. Like they're in storage in the big storage drawers. I just have a few that I keep with me. And one of them is, well, the Wilkins grip one is not right in front of me right now, but I have, excuse me, plain old kind of stock 550. I have, this was a limited edition, or no, this is a first production of when Benchmade kind of made their own G10 scales, because people were making custom G10 scales all the time. This is a regular old, an older model 551, but it's got custom scales on it and custom backspacer. This is a little mini grip, just so I could throw a mini grip in there. I don't really carry this one that much. And then I have kind of like the king of the collection. This is barely a Griptilian anymore. It has a replacement Wilkins blade. It's got anodized titanium Wilkins scales and Wilkins clip. I mean, really the only thing that's Benchmade anymore is the pivot and the liners on the inside and the axis. Everything else is changed, but it's technically still a Griptilian. This was the king of Benchmade's blue class for over a decade. And so if you don't know, Benchmade used to have 4 classes of knives. They had the red class, which was their lowest end. And those knives were not bad knives, but they were made in Taiwan. They didn't use bad materials, but they weren't great. They were not bad knives, and I have a handful of red class knives, and there's nothing wrong with them. Nothing at all. But they were their sort of lower end, just like some high-end knife makers now have a lower end. Benchmade does not have a red class anymore. They said, no, we're not going to do that. Then they had the blue class, and the blue class was your EDC class of knives. It was, well, it still is. It's your just carry around, do what you want with, out in the civilian world knife. And I say civilian world because then they have the black class. The black class is their And I'm not saying you have to be to have it, but that is their military, law enforcement, first responder. That is their professional series. And what is the difference between blue class and black class? Sometimes not a lot. Really not a lot. It's sometimes just the design of the knife. But then they have the gold class. The gold class is their very fancy, highest end. And a lot of times what the gold class is just they take a blue class or a black class knife and then they fancy it up with like fancy materials, Damascus blades, carbon fiber, and anodized titanium all over it and everything. But it's just very expensive versions of other knives. But the blue class is really what Benchmade makes a lot of their money on, because that's what people carry around. That's what they EDC. Black class is very good too. A lot of people like the black class, but blue class is really what Benchmade sells the most of. And Benchmade today is not the powerhouse name that it once was, for a few reasons, and this is just my opinion. Number one, the fiasco it was either Washington or Oregon, with the social media post about helping a local police department destroy some confiscated firearms. And I think a lot of people got that wrong. Honestly, Benchmade helped a local police department destroy some guns that were confiscated in the commission of crimes. Those guns were going to be destroyed. They were going to be one way or the other. Benchmade wanted to help out local law enforcement who said, you have the tooling and stuff, will you help us with this? They probably should not have advertised that they did it. But a lot of people took that to mean like these guns were taken from gun owners. And Benchmade was like, yeah, let's destroy these guns. Those guns were taken, they were all confiscated in the commission of crime. By law, they had to be destroyed. Benchmade was trying to help out their local law enforcement. Stupid of them to post it on social media. What a bunch of idiots. But that really took a lot of people, gave them a very negative taste for Benchmade knives from that point on. And the honest truth is, and this is my opinion, the quality and QC of Benchmade has gone down. From my point of view, in the last 10 years or so. And I've had some Benchmades, and they don't come out of the box as perfect as they used to. They just don't. I don't think the designs are as innovative as they once were. This is all my opinion. All my opinion, but that's just how I feel about it. So let's talk about the Griptilian, why I love it. So, number one, the Benchmade Griptilian was my first real knife. When I was a young soldier, we would go to the BXPX. It's the store on base. It's like a little tiny mini Walmart. You can get everything you need there almost, and it's cheaper than going shopping out in town. And there's always these vendors. There's always these vendors selling crappy gas station knives, like a little cart right outside the door. Always, on every base. And when you're young and stupid, you don't know any better, and you just buy one that looks really cool. And I bought one that looked really cool. I don't remember what it was. And we were out in doing, we had a field problem, and camouflage netting was all tangled up. And so we had to cut some of it free. And I took out my little knife, and I started to go cut it. And one of my NCOs looked at me, and he said, what the hell is that thing? Like the way that I would look at somebody with like an M-Tech now. And I said, oh, I just bought this at the PX over there. It's like, look at it. And he goes, that thing is junk. It's going to fall apart on you. I mean, I didn't know that blades weren't supposed to wobble around and stuff. I was just like, oh, it's nice and loose. It'll open quickly. He took it away from me, and he handed me his Griptilian. It was a Benchmade Griptilian. And he said, here, take this. This is yours now. I'll get another one. You got to learn about this stuff. This is a knife. This is a real one. And that was my first real, I say real knife. And that was when I said, I got to learn about these things. I got to learn about knives. And it was a Benchmade 550, just like this, with this half serrated blade. Back then, the blades were all 440C. Benchmade did a lot of stuff at 440C, and they did it really, really well. And it was an OD green. It was just like this, really. Except it didn't have the engraving on the blade, and it wasn't S30V. And it had the standard Benchmade clip like this, in black. And I thought I was the coolest thing in the world. And I carried that knife forever, until one day we were packing up 5-ton trucks to put them through the the QA line is another exercise thing. So you pack up all the trucks like you're going to go to war, and then you put them through the QA line, and the QA guys tell you everything you did wrong, and you break everything down, and you pack it back up again, and it's stupid. I left it sitting on a truck out, in the yard, and it was gone. I never saw it again. But I knew that I needed to go buy another one, and in those days, you could buy Benchmades just on a hanging rack, just in a package, and they were relatively cheap at the PX. So I bought another Griptilian, and that knife stuck with me. And I took it on my first deployment to Iraq, 2003, and I absolutely loved it. So the Griptilian is special to me in that way. The standard Griptilian, let's talk about it. You've got a blade. Now, they use all different blade steels now, but you've got these plastic scales. They call them whatever they call them. It's plastic. You've got these inset steel liners. Now, they're very small steel liners. If you look, they don't go all the way through. They only come to about there, and they're thin. So it's a very light knife. It's a little front heavy, but it's a light knife, and it's axis lock. So, I love the axis lock because it's easy to one hand and everything. Obviously, reversible clip left or right. This isn't the standard clip that comes on it. This clip wouldn't be available on Benchmades till much later. But the original model was the 550, and it had an oval hole like this. The round hole wouldn't come till later. And I'm not sure why they switched, because I like the oval hole. I thought it was good, especially when you had gloves on. You got really good bit of purchase on there. But it was a really good all-around knife. And I didn't know then that I didn't want to have serrated. Now I like all just straight edge knives. This one was given to me as a going away gift from one of my units in the Air Force. So it's all engraved and stuff. Over the years, Benchmade would expand their line. So they went from the 550, that was the first model, the modified sheep's foot blade. Then they introduced the 551, which was the drop point. And I'm not sure which is more popular, the 550 or the 551. I love this blade shape. I like the 550. A lot of people like the 551. Then they had the 552 or 3. I cannot remember honestly, and that's I don't like the Tonto shape on the Griptilian at all. But it's essentially the exact same knife, same mechanics. It's just a different blade shape. They came out with one that was specifically a water, for water use. Then on the Benchmade website, they started offering that you could upgrade the steel. Now back then, D2 was an upgraded steel. D2 was special. You could upgrade to 154 cm. You could upgrade to S30V or D2. D2 was not the common. Every knife from China has it blade back then. That was considered a premium steel, and you paid extra for it. This was Benchmade's most popular selling knife for about 15 years. Maybe a little less. The first productions came out in 1999. The actual production models came out in 2001. From 2001 to about 2015. This was Benchmade's most popular knife among everything else that they sold. And when Benchmade started their custom knife, setup thing, the Griptilian was the first knife that you could do it with. Now they really don't sell the Griptilian as much anymore. You could still get it customized. It went away for a while, and they had to bring it back because people really like it. However, it's a Benchmade, so you're gonna pay a lot. We call it the butterfly tax, just for that little mark. You've got plastic handles, and you have what is good steel, very good steel. Now, they came out in 440C, then the standard blade was upgraded to 154 cm. Now the standard blade is S30V. But if you think about, for the money that you pay for it, and seriously, they charge about $150 now for this knife. For that money, you can get the same steel or better in an all titanium package and with a really cool anodized job on it. So would you really want to spend that money on the same steel with a plastic handle when you could get something really solid with, you know, a nice metal handle with, now this is a little bit more than that. You know, I've been carrying this around since the unboxing of it. I love it to death. But my point is, you know, there are brands today, and now this is an American brand made in USA, so well, granted, but there are brands today where you can get the same steel material, even the same, the patent on the axis lock has expired. The trademark axis lock still stands. So other companies can't call it the axis lock, but they call it the crossbar lock, they call it the slide lock, they call it all sorts of different names, but they can legally make this lock as long as they don't call it the axis lock. So you can get a knife with the same locking system, same or better blade steel, and a better material on the handle for about the same money as a Griptilian. What would you choose? Now, if you are a hardcore, I will only carry something made in the USA, maybe that makes up your mind for you. And maybe you are getting this. Doug Ritter had his own version. It was basically a Griptilian with a different shaped blade. I loved it. I had one. I sold it. I regret it so much. Now there's the RSK, made by Hogue, which is basically a Doug Ritter Griptilian again, with G10 scales. It's a phenomenal knife, worth every penny. I recommend getting it. It's about the same price, but there's just something about it that is great. I wish I had one. I need to get one. I don't have one. I think that a Griptilian with a G10 handle is, you know, like this one is, it's obviously it's a little different. You've got total flow through construction. You've got your barrel spacers there, nice anodized thing going on. You've got the blue liners. This has CPM 20 CV steel, which is phenomenal steel. And I think they made this version in the 551 also. So this was Benchmade's introduction into the G10 handle. If you can get an RSK, you've got a really nice grippy G10 handle with a kind of different shaped blade. So I highly recommend that. And it's basically another Griptilian. And it's not a ripoff or anything. Doug Ritter had a deal with Benchmade that he could make his own version, so it's licensed and everything. But so back to the point: is the Griptilian still a relevant knife in the world of EDC? Would you pay for a Griptilian with everything else that's out there on the market? Now, back whenever, quite some time ago, I spent, I'll face it, ridiculous amounts of money to basically take a Griptilian knife that I already paid for and just use the liners, the axis lock, and the pivot and turn it into this, which I'm not complaining. I love this knife. This is a great, it's a beautiful, ano job, nice chunky titanium. The blade is a really nice shape. I love the oval hole. Goes right back to the old Griptilian. And so you could really get your thumb in there, I'm not complaining at all. But this, just the scales are worth twice what a Griptilian is worth, for purchase price anyway. And then the blade was about the price of a Griptilian itself. So ridiculous purchase, but it is what it is. I still find myself putting the Griptilian in my pocket though. Whether it's the G10 version, this one is cool because this has a light up backspacer, a glow-in-the-dark backspacer. And I've made customized versions of the Griptilian. I will put a little link to my favorite one in the corner where you can watch, where I actually took away the steel liners and I made I used G10 to make new liners. I eliminated a couple ounces of weight. I used something called Taro Tough for the scales. It was a really nice lightweight version of the Griptilian when I was working in the shop and everything. It's great. And I gave it to somebody as a gift. And I want to make another one. So you can do a lot of customizing. Back in the day, you couldn't get other scales for your Griptilian unless you had somebody customize your scales. Now they sell all sorts of aftermarket scales and everything. And this is just I didn't do this. This is an aftermarket set that I thought looked cool. So I got it. And yeah, I mean, and you can buy the plastic scales in different colors if you want. And in the Benchmade Customizer, they came in all sorts of different colors and stuff like that. You don't see it here, but I think you'll probably will have seen it in the video that yes, they come in black coated blades and everything if that's what you're into. So again, back to the question: what would your preference be? Is the Griptilian still worthy of putting in your pocket, or are there just better choices on the market today? It is certainly not Benchmade's most popular knife anymore. That was taken over by the Bug Out, I think. The Bug Out is smaller, it's lighter. It's basically the same principle as the Griptilian, though. It's a smaller blade, but it's still plastic scales. I have a Bug Out in here. I'm not getting it, but I have one. It's the small inset liners that are tiny. They don't go all the way in there. Axis lock. It's basically the new Griptilian. Smaller, more compact, and lighter. But same type of construction and everything. And it wasn't until the Bug Out came around that the Griptilian kind of got bumped out from the #1 blue class EDC slot at Benchmade. So I prefer the Griptilian over the Bug Out for the main reason that you get no choice of blade with the Bug Out. You get a mini Bug Out or you can get a Bug Out, but that's it. I love this blade shape. There's a lot of reasons why I like a sheep's foot blade. We'll talk about that maybe in another video. But with all of my more expensive, higher end, or even less expensive, but just as good knives, I still find myself reaching for a Griptilian to throw in my pocket to walk around with. So I wanted to put the question out there to the world. Is this knife still relevant in the world of EDC, or is it just past its prime and it's been left by the wayside by better designs, newer designs, cheaper designs, better value for the money? What do you guys think? I'd love to know your opinions. Please comment, what is your favorite EDC knife? What do you carry? And have you ever carried a Griptilian? Do you carry one now? If you carried one, have you replaced it with something else, and what did you replace it with? And how do you feel about this as an EDC piece, today with everything else that's on the market? All right? So thanks for spending the time with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this, doing something a little bit different. Let me know what you thought of this kind of video. Remember that you guys are all absolutely awesome, and I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll be back again real soon.